Welcome to episode 172 of the Beefy Boys Breakdown. We're going to be recapping UFC Fight Night, Perez versus Taira, and also kind of going over some of this UFC 303 and UFC Saudi Arabia kind of fallouts, late replacements, kind of just a little bit of controversy going on with the upcoming cards. So,
Yeah, and then I just have some overall feelings towards the UFC's business model and what happens when these big fights pull out, and what we're left with versus what we would have been left with in the old model. But yeah, man. Also, just for the viewers at home, everyone say happy birthday. D-Max joined the 30 Club today with me. Welcome to the Big 3-0. I promise you that hangovers get worse by the day. And honestly, bro, played the best basketball game of my life last week, and then I couldn't walk the next day. So take it how you want it.
nice. Yeah, I'm feeling the skate sessions getting shorter by the day, but yeah, man, it's my birthday, the big 30. I wanted to bring in this new year, kind of like doing something that I want to like have success in this coming year, as opposed to just dicking around all day. Don't get me wrong, there will be plenty of dicking around to be done, but excited to be doing this podcast episode, doing at least something productive with this day besides just getting hammered.
Yeah, 100%. We'll save the dicking around for the nighttime hours, get the daylight pod going. Before we dive into the main event here with Tatsuro Taira and Alex Perez, which was a sick fight, I'm not going to lie. As much as the rest of this card might have disappointed me, and it wasn't necessarily the performances disappointed me, it was the name values I was being given. I was disappointed in the UFC brass. I wasn't disappointed in the fighters, per se. That being said, main event was sick, and we'll get right to it. But first, we do have to talk about the biggest news in the UFC company currently, which is Conor McGregor again. If you listen to Good Guy, Bad Guy, I don't know if Chael was trolling. He said he thinks McGregor's in rehab. I don't know. That might be troll. But it's more than any of the other information I've gotten from any sources. And I think it's weird if you have an injury to not kind of like allude to what it was, like a lower body, upper body. Now, I get that's like maybe hurting you down the road, but the point of an injury is that you heal it and that you're not injured when you fight if you're not going to fight, right? So why not talk about it?
Yeah. I wish there was a little more transparency as to why McGregor was out. I can't say that I'm shocked that he's not making it to fight day. I mean, like, I just
Yes, I
I
agree.
think
Couldn't agree more. And that's why I'm overarchingly disappointed.
like it's just crazy how fast time flies. I heard some show talking about the other day, like Conor McGregor hasn't gotten a win since 2019, and
And
it's
that's
just yeah,
Cerrone.
yeah, that's 5 years ago. Cerrone was already like kind of washed at that point. It's just like, what are we doing here? I like he obviously doesn't need the money. Like this is basically my interpretation is that like this is only for like Connor's ego because he can't like look himself in the mirror and realize that he's like like a rich weird rich guy as opposed to like like a killer, a young Irish killer. He's a guy who yachts in Ibiza and shit like that, which is dope. Like that's a level up, but it's just like I don't think you can have your cake and eat it too. I think he's like having like an identity crisis, like ego deal. Like I think he's trying to prove to himself that he's still that young, hungry Irish killer. And in reality, he's a guy that wears silk shirts on yachts and does blow in Ibiza and international waters. So like, I just think he can't like reconcile that like the pages turn, the chapters turn, and that's why like as a fan to bring it full circle, like I was never really holding my breath. And quite frankly, even if we got McGregor Chandler, like that's a weird main event. Like fighting for what the number 7 spot in the rankings. Like I just like what's on the line. It wasn't even really a number 1 contenders match. Like maybe if Conor gets like a first round knockout, they can kind of lawyer ball their way into a Conor title shot to squeeze that juice out of that. Get one last like I don't know, man. I just don't even know what they were fighting for, what they were fighting about. And I said I was never for one holding my breath that the fight was going to happen.
Yeah, I honestly, from the time the Ultimate Fighter happened and they wouldn't announce a date almost immediately, I mean, that was the red flags for me that, like, oh, this fight's fully in jeopardy of never happening. Then we got a date that was, winter of last year, end of the year is what they had said. And then they pushed it forward to start of this year. And then they said UFC 300. And then they said International Fight Week. And now we're being told potentially end of September, October. At this point, I don't care. And at this point, Michael Chandler's lost perhaps millions of dollars if he's winning 2 or 3 fights at this point and getting bonuses. So I think Chandler is losing on this. McGregor can't lose, essentially, right? Because he makes so much money from other stuff and is just so divested from UFC money that he can't lose based on what the UFC is doing. He doesn't give a shit. And in fact, I think he wants to fight, in all honesty, because I think he wants to get the last 2 fights of his contract over and just go do random exhibitions for millions of dollars for fucking anybody and not be under UFC's contract. I do think that's why he wants to fight, is simply to get the fights off the contract.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, I think Chandler's 37 at this point. Like, literally wasted years 35 and 36.
That was the other thing I was going to bring up that was echoing Chael's sentiment that if there's any fight McGregor wants, it is Michael Chandler. It's the only guy that will make the gentleman's agreement of, I'm not going to take you down, we're going to box. And Michael Chandler goes forward. Well, what's Conor great with? Boxers that go forward. I mean, he's a counter striker that likes to... that if you don't shoot takedowns, he wins. So...
Yeah, and I got to say, I guess I'll counter that point slightly. Like, the main thing I'm bummed about is not being able to bet on Michael Chandler. Because, like, while stylistically and X's and O's, everything you just said made a lot of sense, you know what I think matters more than that? Like,
activity? Not being on a yacht doing blow all day long for 7 weeks?
Like, actually being a professional athlete and, like, a high-level fighter. Like, I think that trumps any kind of, like, X's and O's Teddy Atlas breakdown that you can really throw at me here. But yeah, man, and then we got and this kind of somewhat leads us into actually talking about the Fight Night card that we're recapping here, because Ikram Alaskarov was supposed to be the co-main, and I'm not gonna lie, this card needed like granted it's an Apex Fight Night, so I know they don't give a shit about like bolstering it or you know, having it look good on paper, any of that, but like this card needed Alaskarov bad. And while you could argue that like Saudi Arabia needed him worse, like
you know what?
This card without Ikram, like that's why this card seems so gross and mid. Like if we would have got to see like an Ikram starching like I would have like ended Saturday night
feeling at least good. Better. Yeah.
Yeah, like we saw something cool happen. Like
can't disagree, and we can't say the injury in the main event is fluky because I actually think that was like caused.
See, I can't wait to actually get into that, and we will shortly. But yeah, and then just, I guess real quick, like we've both been high on Ikram. Like I do believe I have him power ranked like 12th or somewhere, and I have him in my top 15 for sure.
I think Whitaker's a big jump.
Yeah, like even me, like I have Ikram probably power ranked higher than most people out there in the world, and even I think Bobby Knuckles is a bit too much for him. But like, I guess it is till it ain't, right? Like if he comes out and gets this win, then he's fast track city, kind of like it'll be very similar to when Poetan beat Sean Strickland. If he can get the jump on old Bobby Knuckles.
I'll say it this way. Whitaker right now is minus 155, and I think he's plus 240 by TKO. I like that Bobby Knuckles TKO before 5 rounds with Alaskarov. I think Alaskarov will gas out before he gets to 5 rounds with Bob.
True. Like it does seem like Ikram better fucking hope that like it's first or second round knockout, like he just DDPs him. Which isn't off the table, I guess, since we've seen that vulnerability from Bobby Knuckles.
I do like DDP, though. That loss is aging very well, I think.
Oh, it's aging about as good. I mean, the guy has the belt currently, so yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, Ikram could be that level of guy. Like we very well could be looking at, like I said, Poetan wasn't in the top 5 until he was after not starching Sean Strickland. So,
good point. Good point.
Just kind of, setting the table there a little bit. But, I guess we got to, quit pulling teeth and twisting arms. We'll get to this this Fight Night main event here. Alex Perez, plus 185, taking on Tatsuro Taira, 15-0 coming into this one. Ranked 13, only 24 years old. Big jump for him as well. We're just talking about the big jump for Ikram to Bobby Knuckles. I mean, going from the Who has Tatsuro been fighting? I mean, not necessarily a who's who.
Here, I got it right here. So his last opponent was Carlos Hernandez, is that? Yeah, Carlos Hernandez, Edgar Shirez, Jesus Aguilar, CJ Vergara. That's going backwards in order. So, I mean,
Yeah, they've been feeding him cans basically. To
Shirez
go
is the
from
only one that made it to decision with him, to be fair.
Yeah, man. And so giving him Alex Perez was a big jump up. Vegas like Taro. We got plus 400 on Perez by decision, which, I still don't necessarily hate that bet. We
I
didn't really
was
get a chance to see it play out, but
I was liking it after round one. I'll say it that way. And I think based on every judge's scorecard and my scorecard, probably your scorecard, we would have liked that.
yeah, no, he's really, keeping it on the feet. He got his own takedown. He had the significant strike number advantage. He was kept doing the dirty boxing kind of uppercuts, which were pretty sick.
I will say, when he got the takedown and Taira damn near swept him and stood up pretty much out of a sweep, I was a little worried because I instantly realized, Taira's going to be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, and even Perez's overall game plan, it would have been interesting to see how it projected over 5 rounds because he was kind of getting in close, using the tie clinch, almost fighting like a hockey fight, and engaging in close like that with a grappler, to Tyra's level. It's kind of a weird strategy, but it was also kind of working. It was kind of working. So I mean, it is what it is. And then round two, we get the injury here. Taira, I think, was starting to kind of control of the fight in round two. I mean, he obviously he takes the back.
It was a nice back take too. Pretty slick.
Yeah, it was slick, and that's where Taira does his best work, and that's kind of feeds right into what he does well. So it wasn't necessarily shaping up great for Perez in that second round, but while Taira was on the back, and we talked about it. Really, it's going to come down to a little debate here on the show, and I think we're going to have different sides of this argument, but we'll present both sides to the viewer. I do think it was fluky. Yes, Taira was on his back, and yes, he was pulling him backwards. But here's my argument as to why it's fluky, and then I'll let you give your argument as to why you don't think it's fluky. I just I had to rewatch the replay of the knee injury times, and you can barely even see what really happens. It wasn't yes, he got pulled backwards. I don't know, man. Guys fall like that all the time and don't hurt their knees. I just don't think it was this deliberate. I liken it to whenever somebody's trying to stand up and they post on their elbow and it hyperextends. Yes, it was hurt in the fight, and yes, the other fighter was forcing that scramble, but also people post and don't dislocate their elbow all the time. I think that it was fluky just on the sense of it's not like Taira was cranking on that knee or twisting on it or had him in a knee bar or he had him in I guess a vulnerable position. I just, we've seen that happen before and the knee doesn't tear. It's that knee doesn't always tear there. It wasn't designed to tear that knee up. So I do lump it in the category of fluke overall.
All right, let me tell you why it's not a fluke though. All right, so he has the body lock, right, or body triangle, and he's throwing his body weight off to his side while also having 1 foot down, lifting up the far side leg. So he's intentionally putting all the weight over Perez's leg. So, and Perez survived it once and balanced himself and then came back. I just feel like that move, it's I would say this, it's less fluky than a non-contact injury, if that makes sense. Because it wasn't exterior force being placed on him. And had he not resisted it and just gone down, his knee wouldn't have popped. It was because his knee had to bear the weight of 2 people and Taira pulling him at the same time while also lifting his other leg so he couldn't balance at all with his second leg. So I just feel like Taira isolating the leg does make it a little less than fluky.
That might be a good way to put it. A little less than fluky. I'm actually willing to concede that. In the realm of flukiness, but not like super random walking down the street, get hit by a bus level of fluke. But
Right, like it made sense to
yeah,
me that it happened because I thought about it the first time he pulled him. I was like, "Holy shit!" Taira's able because he damn near like leaned back like he was like riding a bucking horse and then pulled himself back up. Like his core strength is absurd. Clearly, we saw that.
yeah, man, and Taira. It just sucks. Like this was supposed to be the fight that was going to answer all the questions of how good Taira was, and you could argue it did. I don't know. I like everybody. Like I
Yes,
said,
I'm on
Taira
your
get
side on that though. It did not answer enough questions because of the injury,
yeah.
which is unfortunate.
Didn't see if he could go 5 rounds. We really didn't see what his striking looked like, to be honest. And what we did see
If
of it,
we
he was
did, it
losing the
wasn't
exchange.
that great. Now, granted, that's Alex Perez. It's not like a slouchy guy.
No, no, no. But also, like, I don't know if he wants that Urseg
Urseg,
smoke.
yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
that exactly. Now, that might be a fun next fight, talking about what's next for Tatsuro
Well,
Taira.
Urseg just got booked against Kai Kara France. So, like, in
Also
theory, I
fun.
agree with you, but kind of a moot point as far as scheduling goes. But yeah, this fight ends 2 minutes, 59 seconds into the second round. Technically a TKO, but it was due to that knee injury. He called out Pantoja. You know,
They put Taira number 5, just to
I
let you
think
know.
that's where I put him in my power rankings, to be honest. And it's because, it does get pretty MMA mathy. But the
I
only
mean,
question I
Taira
had to ask him,
Makayev?
it's looking like that, or Tyra Royville. I don't think Royville has a fight. Because that was my question, though, like philosophically, because Perez beat Nicolau beat Cop. So it's like if you're going to jump Tyra over Perez, you pretty much got to skip him over Nicolau and Cop in a lot of ways. And then in my power rankings, I had Makayev above them. So now the question is Tyra or Makayev, and if I have to choose one of those guys, I'm picking Tyra. His finishing ability, his overall experience. He has 16 wins now to Makayev's only 10 wins. They're both undefeated, obviously.
6-fight win streak for Taira in the UFC as well. I think that's important. He's put in work for the company.
Agreed. And this win is, I think Makayev has the same exact win, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like Makayev beat Perez as well.
But
so
29-28, and that was a good fight.
Yes, it was. And this technically goes down as a finish. Tyra Makayev would be sick because Makayev, they basically both have to grapple each other, or maybe finally get an answer.
It's more like Makayev's got to be careful when he grapples, right? Because it's more like traditional wrestler versus. Honestly, Tyra's submission game is tremendously good, but his takedown game isn't terrible either. He was 2 for 2 in this fight on takedowns.
You saw what Filio did to Makayev. Remember that knee bar? So
right.
like stylistically, that could be fire.
I think that is trouble for Makayev. In all honesty, I'd probably end up betting Taira there.
And then on the flip side, like I said, I couldn't really drop Perez much lower than 7 because, like I said, you're not going to drop him below the guy he just knocked out in Nicolau. And I personally don't feel like dropping him below Cop. I have Kai Kara France lower than some other people do. I have him down at 10, so you could argue that maybe Kai Kara deserves, but he's also been kind of inactive, coming off some injuries. Had the weird Albazi decision, which I believe we both scored to him, but the judges did not. So this division's real weird. And then you got Albazi floating around in there, Tagir pulled out and didn't make weight. Almabayev, we'll get to him in a little bit. I think he could be a dark horse in this division for sure. But yeah, man, any final takes here? I said Taira gets the bonus, improves to 16-0, still only 24 years old. The fucking MMA Yuto Origami, it's so sick.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good bow on it. That we're high on Taira, and he's probably one solid. Like if he gets another finish in his next fight, probably on talks for title shot.
Yeah, or even if say he goes 5 rounds with a Royville in a Fight Night main event or something, I think that would probably qualify as well. But yeah, we'll get pushing to maybe the worst co-main we've ever had. Quite honestly, I know that's recency bias, and I'm sure if you comb through the archives, we could maybe come up with one. But Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles John is granted it was supposed to be all a scare off, but It wasn't, and this is the co-main we got left with, man.
Yeah,
We were both pretty high on Silva de Andrade. He finished at plus 125. We got him at plus 110. Miles Johns minus 150. Um, you know, I don't think we necessarily have to go round by round here. Although one judge, I assume, gave Silva de Andrade 3.
yeah. I was gonna say that was the round it was, but I honestly didn't give it to him. I was gonna ask you if you did.
No, I did have it as a close round because Silva de Andrade, did land that spinning wheel kick, but Johns was able to recover, and I thought Johns just did better work over the course of the round, and then they had their kind of Fugazi Max Holloway moment at the end of the round, and I thought Miles Johns got the best of that exchange, so kind of left you with a taste in your mouth at the end of the round. Yeah, I had a 30-27 Johns. Pretty disappointed that yeah, we like I said, we had him and another dog parlayed, and we had him on a 3-leg parlay. We were riding Silva de Andrade pretty hard. We did say that the age was like a potential factor, and it probably looked like that's what it was, right? Like I think if this was maybe 2 years ago, Silva de Andrade probably wins this. I don't know if that's your takeaway or not.
I agree. I was gonna say I think that Silva de Andrade looks old now.
Yeah, it definitely looked tentative, right? Like he wasn't really going, and when he would go, he wouldn't have that much success.
I almost wonder if it's like he like because I think as a Brazilian he probably spars a lot, and so I think he's just aware of his own speed. Like he's losing his speed, right? And
He is, which at 38 at bantamweight, like that's what happens,
sense,
right?
Yeah,
Like,
makes sense. Like he's avoided father time for so long, but yeah, finally caught up to him. And honestly, Miles Johns looked good. I think the age gap played a big difference here, just as far as like over the line and not over the line.
well, and then Miles Johns is one of these guys. It's kind of hard to gauge like how good he actually is. He has like those no contests and a draw, and like his topology is real screwy. Um, but
Yeah, I mean, for Miles Johns, actually, I think that draw got overturned to a no contest. Yeah, it did.
okay, yeah, maybe that's what it was. Um, but yeah, I mean, he showed off a chin in this. He had power. He had good timing on the counters. He showed some good toughness, and this fight just wasn't all that special to me. Like,
Bro, tell me.
I moved Miles Johns up to 34 in my power rankings, which is somewhat high for bantamweight. But and then I moved D Silva down to 37.
Man, I might even drop him lower than that, to be honest with you.
Well, so I have other old guys below him. So my 30, what would that be? 36 through 40 is D Silva, Ronnie Yaya, Kelly Ho Kang, and Ayman Zahabi. So I mean, you can kind of mix and match those guys.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's a tier. Like that's basically a tier of
Speaking
guys.
of which,
good fighters but old.
Kung Ho Kang, I think there's value on him next week. We'll get to that in the betting show later. But man, honestly, this is gonna sound crazy, but for the co-main event, I say we keep pushing.
Yeah, man. Ticket did not cash. Miles Johns gets the win. Good for him on getting a win in a co-main. It wasn't his fault. He didn't pull out of the Ikram fighter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he made the most of his opportunity, I guess you could say. So like that's a big moment for his career, especially with some of the no contests and the kind of squirrely shit that's kind of he hasn't necessarily had a straight path. It's been a little zigzag. So and then I think the D Silva fade is on and cracking moving forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they might be giving him feedings though at this point. Like, so I don't know if we'll ever get any sort of close odds on him. Like, I think we might see D Silva as like a plus 350 the next time we see him out against some just young lion. Yeah, that's it. We can keep it pushing, man. To who's next here? Oh, Cuamba.
Oh, you
Almeida.
mean? Yeah, I was about to say this banger of a featured match here: Timmy Cuamba versus Lucas Almeida. Which the only reason why this fight was cool because like Lucas Almeida did earn some respect from me. Like Lucas Almeida was flirting with cans here before this fight, and I think he showed that like 5'11", on and performing well. The guy is not like ass. I'm not going to shovel too much coal, and I'm not going to get over my skis here. But I think he proved that like he doesn't suck whenever like things are going, well. Like whenever. Well, because like I don't think Timmy Quamba, or do you think Timmy Quamba is just a can and like allowed Lucas Almeida to look this good?
Yeah, I mean, I think Timmy Kwamba's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, but I also do think like Almeida has fought against Sabatini and Feely in his losses, and like I don't hate those losses necessarily. Like I don't hate those guys in the featherweight division. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is maybe more a case of like a guy that's inside of the Kuzi tier in Almeida, and Kwamba might be can tier.
No, that like sums up my rankings perfectly. So like, yeah, I actually co-signed that statement 1,000%. Yeah, but I guess I'm saying is Lucas Almeida proved that he is a koozie, not a can. Like, yeah, I think he.
Yeah, or maybe even
Like,
just slightly inside of Kuzi. I don't know because like his other win to Trizano is a finish, and Trizano, well, can, but still finishing cans is what you should do. So I don't hold that against
what?
him.
And at the time when he beat him, though, Trizano wasn't a can, or at least wasn't viewed as a can. So like,
True.
that win, like, it's kind of you got to contextualize it. I think for the time of when it happened, that was a pretty solid win.
Fair.
And then this one, I mean, like I said, we may not be the highest on Quamba, but the UFC had him on the main card and shit. So I mean, the UFC, I think, kind of expected something from him.
Yeah. Also, he's from New England Cartel, I do believe. Correct. So.
Which that might be another auto fade, Jim. Lump them
Oh,
in with Fortis.
you know what? It says he's from Extreme Couture here. It must have been another guy that was New England Cartel.
Maybe. But also, man, did you have any 10-8s, man? I was really shocked that no judge scored a 10-8. I had a 10-8.
Really? Which round?
The round with 2 knockdowns, round 1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a silly question, but I
nobody agreed with me. The 2 knockdowns in a round, like that, and they weren't just like run of the mill kind of slip knockdowns. Like they were borderline flash KOs. Like he just dropped his body completely limp.
One was way more serious than the other, though. One was like
Yeah, but
I thought the fight was close to being finished, whereas one I was like, I guess Quamba just wore what was that? The second one better? No, the first one better.
yeah, but either way you look at it, I forget which one was bad. But if the first one was bad and the second one wasn't bad, then that proves how much he still was compromised from the first one. And if the second one was worse than the first one, then that's like the definition of cumulative damage, like showing up and rearing its ugly head. Like so, like either way you spin it, dude. I don't know. I don't know how you get like 2 like pretty serious like punch knockdowns and don't get a 10-8. But apparently I'm on third base holding the catcher's mitt here. So
Let me ask you this though for Lucas Almeida, because based on who he's fought, like in your rankings, I'm sure Sabatini and Feely aren't necessarily low in the division. Whereas I would venture to guess that Quamba and Trizano are. So Almeida kind of is a guy that's like hard to power rank in my opinion.
So I have him 58. So, but you got to keep in mind, I think there's 81 people in my featherweight rankings.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I have him at 60, so I fully agree with you. But I'm just saying, like, maybe he's closer to 40 and we don't know, or 45. Like, maybe not. Because Sabatini.
Yeah, well, I have Feely at 43, so I definitely have him below that. And then
that's what I was about to say too. Yeah, is that those two guys, Sabatini and Feely, are low 40s for me in number.
Like I even have him below like a Sungwoo Choi and below even like an Isaac Dalgarian, and like even like below like a Jamal Emmers. I have him above guys like Gabriel Miranda and Blake Builder and guys of that ilk. But yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I'm not projecting anything, rocket ship to the moon for Almeida or anything. But like I said, I think he proved his UFC caliber, right? And Quamba, not so much. Quamba, big question marks out there. Still yet to notch a UFC win.
Bro.
And granted, I did have Quamba winning the third round. So like, I had a 29-27 scorecard. I had a scorecard that nobody agreed with. So like I said, I had the 10-8 to Almeida and 1, round 3 to Quamba. Which
Quamba,
all 3 judges, I believe.
I was going to say, all 3 judges had 3 to Quamba. I thought Almeida just kind of foot off the gas there.
For sure, man. But, I say we keep it pushing to a fight that sucks for our parlays.
Most fun fight of the night.
I thought this should have been fight of the night.
I agree.
Over the fight that actually won it.
I agree. I mean, I couldn't believe it. This fight was so fun the whole way through, all 12 minutes.
I mean, another one, man, where we just have to shovel piles of dicks here, dude. We were all over Armfield. This is our lock of the week.
True, yeah, we're gonna eat dick for that, but you did get some money. I got blanked, which terrible. You at least got money back on this under by 38 seconds.
Yeah, the under 2.5 did hit at plus 140.
Which Michael was saying he didn't know if he loved that bet. In hindsight, this fight got close to being finished 5 different times, in my opinion. So
yes, yeah. That's why, like, each guy, the under was feeling pretty good the whole time, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
thought it was going to be over in early round 2.
Round 1, Armfield had that deep armbar attempt that looked like it was fully locked in. Like, looked like some Mikhail Oleksiejczuk type shit, except it didn't quite pop like that. But it was a locked in armbar. It was deep. But then, Hiestand kind of won the scrambles and had a couple of choke attempts of his own. I gave round 1 to Armfield. Not that it matters in the end, but I gave it to Armfield.
I did as well. Let's see how the judges felt about it. I got it right here because I actually didn't look at this. Wow, all 3 judges gave round 1 to Hiestand and 2 to Armfield, and I actually have it opposite of that. I have 1 to Armfield and 2 to Hiestand.
Oh, see, I actually like round 2 more than round 1 for Armfield. Like, I thought round 1 was like kind of a coin toss round, and I thought round 2 was firmly Armstead. That's the round where Armstead got the big knockdown, busted up Hiestand's nose. Like, it was looking real bad for Hiestand. Now, Hiestand, took the back and got that rear naked choke attempt off, but I don't think that redeems you from, like, getting sparked.
I agree, but he recovered in the same round that he got sparked and got the... It wasn't like it took him to go sit down and recover. Like, worked his way back in and got the dominant position. Like, I don't know. It's almost like... I don't know. I scored that 2 playground probably. I was getting a little drunk by this point in the night, and I was just having fun. This fight, I was just having too much fun with it, I'm sure, but...
It was a fun fight. On a night where there wasn't a ton of fun fights, it was a fun fight, and it was awesome. Like I said, it sucked as Armfield bettors, but...
wow, I can't believe no judge gave Armfield 1. Surprised.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of lame. But then, yeah, round 3, Hiestand gets the rear naked choke. I mean, he was threatening it the whole fight. Every time he got any type of opportunity opening at all, he would take the back and start threatening that rear naked choke. So it was, maybe you could argue, bound to work eventually, but
right.
It worked in round 3, minute 52 seconds. Performance of the night bonus for Hiestand. He said, I thought this could have been fight of the night and probably should have been fight of the night.
I thought so too. Like, they gave 12 minutes of extreme action. I mean, that's 80% of what you sign up for. And if it's 100% gas, like, that's better than a fight that goes 100% of the time and is 60% good.
Exactly. And it's like, isn't the definition of, like, if one guy gets knocked down in round 2, but yet gets finished in round 3, like, that's, like, even without any other details, like, that's basically describing a fight of the night, like, kind of scenario.
Not to mention, Hiestand had a deep choke of his own at one point, and then was it Armfield that had the arm bar in the first round?
Yeah.
So both guys got close to finishing the fight in
multiple times.
All the rounds of the fight, 1, 2, and 3. Some guy was close to a finish, and obviously in 3, Hiestand gets it. But yeah, I think that's, like, obviously the fight of the night when it's going back and forth like that and guys are nearly getting finished. I mean, the stakes, the roller coaster was tremendous.
Yes, the roller coaster. That's a great way to put it. That's, like, really the mark for fight of the night. Like, I feel like I hate when they get fight of the night to a fight that, like, goes all 3 rounds and it's kind of one-way traffic. And it's like, that's not really how I define fight of the night. Like I said, each guy almost won this fight by finish, like, 3 different occasions. So, like, yeah, I don't get how this didn't get fight of the night, but good on Brady Hiestand. I mean, this was a big, big moment for him. Both the card placement, the bonus, I mean, the performance, like, being in a memorable, exciting fight. I had to move Hiestand up quite a bit. I moved him up to 35, which, like I said, at bantamweight, ultra deep division, it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but I have 82 bantamweights here, so I have well in the top half. I didn't skip him over Miles Johns.
Would be a fun fight, though.
Yes, and that's what I was going to get to on the Miles Johns breakdown, and I figured I would just leave it here. my power rankings have Miles Johns at 34 and Hiestand at 35. Would love to see that fight. It would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, age-wise too. I mean, how old is Hiestand? Because Johns is 30. I don't believe.
Hiestand's 25, so he's a
Yeah,
young buck.
that's a good time for those guys to fight though, because like if they either, no matter who loses there, if they both keep rising afterward, they can fight again. Like they're still young, where that can be ran back if we need to later, if either guy becomes a name for some reason.
I also weirdly, it's kind of sound random, but it kind of works for my power rankings. I wouldn't mind seeing Hiestand Davy Grant.
I don't hate it.
Old versus young, like kind of typical matchmaking.
I don't hate Miles Johns Davy Grant, to be quite honest with you, as crazy as that might sound. Just stylistically, I think that could be a good matchup.
Or like either one of them versus like a Victor Henry level guy as well. And then once you get...
I'm kind of out on Victor Henry.
Oh, me too, but that's why I want to see him get fed to one of these guys. Because you know what? Because what I'm getting at is here, once you get up to the tier above that, I have like the Lapalises, the Yanez, the Boscherats, the Bezcots, the Peyton Talbots. So they're like right on the outside of that, like guys that like actually matter in the division. Like one more win, these guys are like gonna like matter and be like a fight or two away from a ranked fight.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think Hiestand has a nice trajectory moving forward, being 25. Like, I think the UFC sees value 25? In him, and the toughness too, right? Like to survive the sub attempt deep in the first round, to survive the huge knockdown in round 2, and then get on his back and finish in back mount by round 2 as well. To get it again in 3 and finish. It's a lot of grit.
Oh, one quick little note, real quick, and then we'll keep it pushing to the flyweights. But they had a little exchange on Twitter. I don't know if you caught this. Phil tweeted at Hiestand. It was like, man, how deep was that armbar? Like, I'm driving myself insane thinking about this armbar. And then Hiestand was like, you almost killed me with that fart. Apparently, whenever the armbar was locked in, Armfield farted in his face.
What?
And Hiestand was like the farts almost what got me. So, Jesus Christ,
that's diabolical.
That's raunchy, dirty white boy shit again, Armfield.
Yeah, that is diabolical.
Imagine getting your arm hyperextended and you're just like, oh, what's that? But yeah, man, big win for Hiestand. And I gotta say, I gotta start taking him pretty seriously. I thought, before this fight, Hiestand was just one of many bantamweights who was very good. He's part of the reason that we always say how good of a division bantamweight is because guys like, you have unheralded guys like Hiestand just lurking around there that are very tough nights out, but kind of like didn't really matter much. And that's part of why we'd always say bantamweight's so deep, so hard, is because you had guys like Brady Hiestand lingering around 45 in the power rankings. But I got to start taking it more seriously, and I think the bantamweight division does as well. But yeah, man, speaking of guys that we got to start taking seriously in the division, well, we already were, but I think the rest of the world's going to have to start acknowledging them as well. Vegas was all over it. Oscar Almabayev taking on Jose Johnson. Finishes at minus 455. Man, my garbage ass took him on a 4-leg that ended up being a 3-leg thanks to Ulanbekov at minus 550. Jesus Christ, I was desperate.
Did it cash?
Yeah, taking on. Well, the parlay didn't, but this leg of it
I'm
did.
saying
so,
it's tough on that 3-leg doesn't cash. That's tough.
3-leg like plus 117 or some shit. Yeah, it was a real ass parlay on my end.
This week of the books was real ass whooping.
Yeah, we got our ass handed to us. But man, Jose Johnson, 6 foot tall, coming down from bantamweight to flyweight, and then to just get dominated is
bro. He's such a motherfucker
too.
After the fight, he's dapping up Almabayev and he goes, I wasn't gonna let you submit me in this fight, dog. Like, it's to me, all he did this whole camp was train to not get submitted and not actually win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, in round 1, Almabayev got 5 takedowns, and you can say that well, you can't get 5 takedowns if you control the first one, and Jose Johnson was getting back to his feet, but
the length differential was crazy hard for Almabayev to manage.
like honestly, I think Almabayev gets like BMF points. Like this proved that he could like beat up guys in bigger weight classes. Like
Yeah,
Almabayev
100%.
would be a tough night out for most featherweights. You know what I mean? Like I really do believe that. Like he gets like some BMF pound for pound kind of little bonus points here. Like he basically fought up a weight class.
Yeah, so Holt was over watching this fight with me, and he kept saying, like, Jose Johnson looks huge. And I was like, dude, he weighs 125 pounds. Like, think about that right now. Like, think about it. Like, this guy's 6 foot tall, and he made 125. Like, he's fucking Skeletor. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, no, and he had to kill himself, and that was part of the reason why we liked Almabayev. Vegas liked Almabayev, but there's no healthy way for Jose Johnson to get down to like that. That's not a if this is going to be a bad cut. It's like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare cut for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
And as an Almabayev by sub better, I was so pissed off that Jose Johnson was able to reach back and pull the hand off every time. Like, Almabayev had no chance to hide his hands because he was too short.
yeah, very true. Also, man, that spinning wheel kick at the start of round two was pretty sick. Like, showed
Right.
Almabayev isn't just a one trick pony. Isn't just like a Cody Durden type of guy. Like, he has some dynamic striking. Man. I mean, he passed this test with flying colors. I don't know what else you want me to say. Like that. I mean, to land a spinning wheel kick, 30-27 unanimous, 30-27 for me. I mean, the fight was never really in question. It was just how it was going to end.
Yeah, no, I mean, 11 and a half minutes of control, 4 sub attempts, and 57 ground strikes. So not even a bad number of ground and pound as far as, like, 4 sub attempts and 57 ground strikes. Like, I don't hate the activity.
No, and he was like taking the back and advancing position. Like it wasn't even snoozy. Like when he was controlling, he was like very active on top. Yeah, no, I mean, Almabayev's a motherfucker, dude. How Joe Rogan would say it. He's a motherfucker. But like, I mean, I have him power ranked at 12, and I could argue he should be higher than that. Like I think Almabayev's a tough night out for Manel Kopp. Like I don't think Manel Kopp's real excited if he gets that phone call. Like. I have him at 12 just because, like, the level of opponents and shit. But goddamn, is he passing that eye test?
Yeah, like, I think a Cody Durden struggles with him. Now, you know what I think would be fun here is Ulanbekov, if, missing weight, punish him, make him fight a guy out of the rankings here. I don't hate it. Like, I think that Almabayev loses.
Is Almabayev in the rankings currently? Did he get moved into the flyweight rankings? Still no?
He did not, but I'm saying, like Cody Durden's 15, David Dvorak's 14. I think Almabayev can beat both those guys, so
yeah.
That's why I think go ahead and give him, like, Ulanbekov missed weight by 4 pounds, and we lost that fight because of it against Josh Van, who's also outside the rankings, so I don't know, give Josh Van David Dvorak, which is a much more winnable fight, and give Almabayev Ulanbekov, which is once again a better matchup of skills.
I'm actually on board with that. That sounds sick because, like, I mean, we can't just keep feeding Almabayev. Like, I mean, he's in his prime. He's not a super young guy. Like,
he's 20-2. Like, he has plenty of experience.
Exactly. Yeah, man, I'm all in. He called for Kai Kara France, which obviously we talked about.
That's pretty crazy.
He just got booked with Urseg, but like I said, I mean, a Manel Kopp, an Ulanbekov,
David Dvorak,
Tim Elliott, Cody Durden, like all those are makeable fights, winnable fights. Like I'm here for. Let's start getting this Almabayev show on the road here. I think he's going to be a real problem for the division, man. And up next, we have a bullshit-ass welterweight fight that I do not know how I'll make the main card. We got Josh Quinlan minus 130, Adam Fugitt plus 110. Didn't realize Fugitt's 35 years old.
Ooh.
Also, I do want to go round by round here. I wasn't a big fan of this decision.
Yeah, however, okay, fair, because let me see.
Round one. It all comes down to how you see round one. I thought Quinlan won 2 clearly. 1-3 clearly. One was pretty murky. It's really all going to come down to how you see round one. And I will ask you, how did you see round one?
Yeah, sorry, I was reading my notes to make sure I wasn't just talking out my ass there. But so I have it the exact same as you talked about. Quinlan 2, Fugitt 3. I had 1 to Quinlan, in all honesty.
Yeah, me too, man. The body work, the power. And it was one of those rounds where, like, the significant strike numbers were basically even or legitimately even. And so it's like, all right, well, if the numbers are even, who landed the harder shots? Like, it's not like rocket science to me. There wasn't a lot of like submissions or takedown attempts or like what else are you scoring? Like, if the strike numbers are different, or the strike numbers are basically the same, nobody gets a takedown, nobody attempts a sub. What are we even scoring here other than, like, who landed harder?
I'll go even further as to say that even if you wanted to say the damage was equal, Quinlan was the guy moving forward the whole round and controlling the octagon. So and there's no like control really from either guy. Like, I didn't think, like, as far as grappling control. So
but you know why I'm not going to scream robbery here or anything? Because, like, I want to be honest, man, neither fighter really won round one. Like, you have to pick somebody, but neither fighter really had a big moment.
I'm just saying at least Quinlan was moving forward doing more, in my opinion, more damage.
And I saw it the same way. But it's also kind of hard to cry in your Cheerios whenever. I don't know. I don't think any fighter really looked fantastic in round one.
You know what's so crazy, though, man, is that one judge scored 1 to Quinlan and 2 and 3 to Fugitt.
That's lame.
Yeah, that one's hard.
Because in round 2, Quinlan, that's when he cuts Fugitt. He's landed bombs and just kind of hurting Fugitt a little bit. So, yeah, I do not love that score.
And Fugitt was more active in 2, but once again got way out damaged. And like 2, I thought, or 1 was like close. And if you wanted to lean to Quinlan, like we both did, fine. But if you did that, then you definitely gave 2 to Quinlan, and this judge didn't. So it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I agree, man. I hated that fight. I hated those scorecards. And, like, honestly, man, I think both of these guys are cans. Like, I think I had to move both guys into the can tier. Yeah, I have Quinlan at 70 and Fugitt at 71. Like I said, I scored the fight for Quinlan. And those are literally the start of my can tier. I have them at the very top of the can tier, but cans regardless. Like, Quinlan, he's fast, he's strong, he's powerful, but he's, like, robotic. He has very limited, like, I saw multiple people tweeting, like, Quinlan's striking just isn't UFC caliber. Like, it's predictable combinations. He doesn't really have any, like, on-the-fly adjustments. It's just, like, I'm going to spam these kind of combinations like I'm working a heavy bag and just hope that something lands. The striking defense isn't great from Quinlan. The footwork isn't great from Quinlan. Neither guy proved to really be well-rounded in this fight. It was basically all striking. And, like, that's why when you get a striking battle that's, like, not high level of striking, it's just, like, kind of gross to watch, right? Like, two guys just
couldn't agree more.
Super mid. It was just a mid off. It was just gross. It was
couldn't agree more. And also, I do recall us referring to Josh Quinlan as Josh Canlan before, so that kind of already told you where this fight was taking place in the can tier. We both put 2 stars on Adam Fugitt. Obviously he ends up getting the win. So
it's one of those things where, like, part of me regrets not betting it, and part of me, like,
I'm glad we did, because honestly, was just
it would have cashed, but
but at minus 225 as well, clearly wasn't worth it.
Fugitt was plus 110.
Oh, I wrote down the wrong odds on that fight.
Plus 110, minus 130 for Quinlan. So
damn,
would have been a little dog cash. That's what I'm saying. But, like,
odds. Huh.
A little bit of buyer's remorse there, but yeah, man, that wraps up the main card. Not the greatest main card, but that's why we gave you a little McGregor talk to start it off. We had to shine up this turd somehow. So, but yeah, like, subscribe, check us out on social media. Beefy Boys Breakdown on Instagram, Breakdown on X, and we have a Facebook page out there too if you're a boomer. So follow along and engage with us, and appreciate y'all taking the time to watch this.